Hi. Hi. You get this. Because all my stuff is everywhere. Hi. Hi, hi. Alright. We're inside today because I don't trust the sky. I'm not trying to get. Oh my goodness. Excuse you. How very rude. Rude. Yeah, I don't trust the sky today. We're doing it inside. So, thank you. We're getting there. We're like, what is it now? 4 days? 5 days away? Something like that. It's on Wednesday. Math. Okay, so today we're going into the men of the major arcana. So we're going to start breaking all of them down and all. God, my hair is like not functioning. I know we're in Cancer season. We finally made it, which I've missed Cancer season. So, like I said, we're going into the whole men of the major arcana. So in the men of the major arcana, the divine masculine has so many faces. And a bunch of different lessons for us to learn, honestly, because, we go from the Fool and like all of like this new power and this new journey and this new excitement that kind of happens. And then we have the Magician, who teaches us all the power and creation that we hold inside ourselves that like we do not need to be getting from outside sources, because again, not to be cheesy, but like it was in you all along. And like that's a big role of the Magician. Then, we keep going. He gives us knowledge and courage for our journey forward, because remember, we're looking at the whole major arcana through the lens of the journey of the Fool. So we start as the Fool, and then we go right into the Magician, who teaches us what we already have within us. He teaches us courage and like passion. I'm pretty sure Etsy, like I said, he teaches us all this courage and passion and knowledge, and like gets us ready for this whole journey. And then that takes us into the Emperor. Obviously, like I said, we're not going in order. The Fool, we're just doing the men, because otherwise it would be the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, then the Emperor. And like going that way. This is a little different. So basically, the Emperor, in his more patriarchal nature, in his more like dad energy, he teaches us rules and structure. Then we have the Hierophant, who comes to like educate us and teach us about religion and the world and like higher learning and higher institutions. And, how through organized foundations, we can keep going. Then we get the Chariot. This motivates and inspires us. And it reminds us of our power to overcome. The Hermit, he teaches us how to sit in comfortable silence, how to look inward, how to like enjoy the company of ourselves, how to trust the universe, how to follow our intuition and see where it leads us. And then finally, the Hanged Man rewards us with enlightenment and understanding and confidence, and helps teach us our place in the universe. So that's kind of obviously, the women of the major arcana taught us our personal power, taught us how to connect with our internal selves, how to connect with our subconscious, how to connect with like our divine feminine energy, right? Because regardless of gender, regardless of any of that, we all have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. We, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, they exist within all of us. And, we find our own balance between the two. So that's kind of that lesson, whereas the divine masculine teaches us about power and creation and growth and structure and organization and systems and like all of those really important things. So this is kind of going to be like the main focus for the major arcana, at least for all of this today. So right off the bat, we're going to start with the Magician. Now, something that we got to ask ourselves with the Magician that's really important. I like to do card prompts for people who don't know. Like I said, I like to do a little prompt every single card. If you want, feel free to go home and do these card prompts. Feel free to write them in your tarot journals. Feel free to keep them for yourself, or don't. I'm not your teacher. I'm not your mom. I'm not checking homework. It's totally fine. Do whatever you like. So the card prompt for the Magician, like I said, these are just ways that we can both connect with the energy of the card, maybe learn a little bit about it and ourselves, and maybe start to learn about our relationship with the card. Because like, honestly, I gotta lower this. This is like bothering me. I'm a little too short for that. There we go. Because like, honestly, we connect to all the cards in different ways, and I really like learning what cards make us feel safe, what cards make us nervous, what cards make us like, because like there are lessons in all of those things, right? So it's kind of important. Like, for example, me and the Hierophant had beef for so long. And same thing with me and the Emperor. We had beef for so long. And it's because I don't like structure. I don't like organization. I don't like any of that stuff. I got 4 Gemini placements all in the first house. I don't like structure. So it makes sense that the 2 cards that are all about imposing and teaching structure and boundaries and why they are important made me just be like, ugh, I don't like you. So, you know, it helps me learn things about myself. It helped me fix my problem with structure and like just kind of like check in with yourself throughout that. God, again, what is going on with my hair today? It's the rain. I'm gonna futz with it all class. So the card prompt for the Magician is, what is your understanding of magic in any at all sense of the word? Does this affect your interactions with the world? Important. Now, the Magician at its core is about rationality, reasoning, adaptability, variability, among a bunch of other things, but like those are like some pretty good keywords. I'll give you more keywords later. Now, if it's a yes or no, the Magician is a huge yes. It's a very excited yes. It's a very, like, you have everything you need. Go out there and do the damn thing. That is very much how the Magician kind of sits. Now, when it comes to the planets, you're going to see it closely connected with the planet Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's a very mental planet. So, like, that's kind of why we kind of have that one there. Deities that you're going to find this card associated with are going to be Hermes, Mercury, and Jehudi. Jehudi's non-Kemetic name is also Thoth. So those are kind of who you're looking for. Now, when it comes to angels, you're going to find Archangel Raphael. He's the angel of healing. So you're going to find him kind of focus headed. Now, let's start picking apart the symbolism for the Magician. I always draw a little art for all the little guys. So you can see we have this, we have this, we have this, we have this. I will get into all this and why I kind of chose this imagery for the Magician here. Now, first off, the Magician is number 1 in the major arcana, which is weird because like the Fool comes before him, but we talked, you know, the Fool is 0 in this whole damn thing. You know, we kind of went into him a little earlier and like I'll go a little bit more into detail with him as we do, but like, you know, like we talked about the Fool in our first class, but like I said, he's number 0, which a little weird, but it's because it's endless opportunity, endless possibility. You know, it's 0 is the number of unlimited potential, but now with the Magician, we're gonna start focusing that potential just like a little bit more. So this is new beginnings and this is opportunities, and that's kind of what the number 1 in numerology is all about. So in the art of the Magician, I can actually, oh my god, I just realized this. I can actually show you guys the art of the Magician card because I'm going to lower you guys down a little bit. Can you see? That's the Magician. That's the Magician card right there. Here, I'm going to go a little more because I find this hilarious. Do you see? That's the Magician. There he is. So I have him right on my leg because it's really useful lessons. And
Hello.
oh my goodness, hello. I'm dropping this thing everywhere. It's funny, I'm going to the Magician's imagery and I just realized I have a perfect reference right here.
There you go.
I have a perfect reference.
Yay.
So, Magician. So as we kind of saw, oh yeah, this was a trauma tattoo. I went through a lot of shit and I needed tattoo therapy, and I put all of my desire to restart and start over and kind of grab my life like by the neck, I'll use a more Instagram friendly term, and just kind of like go and take it. And it was when I kind of needed to be reminded that like I do in fact got this, and like I was like, give me the Magician. I need all of that like powerful, creative, divine oomph that like I just needed. I was too in touch with my divine feminine. It was making me forgive more people than I should have, so I needed little bit of fire energy on me. So obviously, as we kind of saw, he's doing this pose. And, you know, we've talked about this all the time. I've mentioned it a few times. I mentioned the as above, so below. It's this, you know, you see this positioning, you see this positioning, you see this positioning. You will find that pose, that position in so many different things. It's all symbolizing the same thing. It's all showing itself in different ways, but it is that as above, so below imagery, which basically just means, you know, we're connecting up here to down here. We're connecting the celestial to, you know, the terrestrial realm. We're connecting the divine to our realm. You know, that's kind of the whole point of that. But it goes a little, damn, these shorts are too big on me. But it also goes a little bit further than that, because this is the magician, right? He makes shit happen. He's doing witchcraft. So not only is this an as above, so below position, we can quite literally picture it like he is pulling energy down from the celestial, down from the ether, and is using his body as a conduit to then push that energy into the terrestrial, into his world. So he's working almost like a lightning conductor to like bring all this kind of in. So it's definitely an as above, so below reference. It is also, like I said, this like pulling and creating. There's definitely a lot of that. I feel like I'm like a bodybuilder doing like poses, like, but we see like a lot of that energy with him. Also, this is kind of meant to show the arm pointing down. This grounds him. This shows his connection to the earth, the physical realm, where he kind of sits there. The arm up is kind of, again, his connection to the divine, his connection to the spiritual realms. And it shows that in between the two, he has a pretty damn good balance of like how that all works and how he's going to do with it. Now, he's a conduit for energy, like we kind of said. Another thing we kind of see, he's in a white robe. God, I'm going to get so sick of telling people what the color white means in the tarot, because it's in so many cards. But, you know, purity, focus, divine knowledge, all that kind of good stuff we see with the white. He also has a big red robe over it. The red robe is the symbol of like worldly knowledge. So it's like spiritual knowledge, worldly knowledge. You guys are kind of starting to see a motif happening here. He uses this and all this energy to manifest his goals. Another thing that we see is on the table in front of him, there's symbols of the 4 spirits, the 4 suits, the 4 directions. 4 also means so many goddamn things in tarot, so we're going to kind of take our time with that. We see the 4 suits. It's the 4 elements, it's the 4 directions, it's the 4 I said elements twice. It kind of like connects us into all of these things. You know, we have these tools help him manifest his intentions. So there we go. He's holding a wand up here. This is fire. This is fire. This is our fire signs. This is south. That's the direction. It's all these kinds of things. There's a pentacle right here in the middle. That's earth. And it's also, the rose next to him can also be considered that, but usually the pentacle, think like coins in tarot. So like this is money, this is wealth, this is the physical body, this is earth, which is the cardinal direction to the north. Then we have this little dagger right here on the table. This is the swords, this is air. Oh no, this is the swords, this is air energy. Air comes from the east. So that is from the little sword. And then the cup is the cups, which is water energy, which is all of that good stuff. What else is it? It's west. Water is west. I have a Buffy Slayer deck and I struggle with using the general tarot meanings or the character on the card. Go with your own personal preference. Usually whoever made that deck was assigning those characters to those cards for a reason. So like whatever card Buffy is on or whatever card Angel's on, it's because that author thought that that character embodied the energy of that card. At least we hope. Sometimes they might just slap something on there. I doubt that. But like if it feels like they're not matching at all, then maybe start to consider which one you want to go with. Because like, yes, you should always consider the original meaning of the tarot. If you don't want to consider the meaning of the tarot, get an oracle deck. So like definitely work with that original meaning, but also, you know, use that, use the motifs, use the metaphors. Like I have the supernatural deck and I will, when I'm using that in readings, I usually don't, but like when I'm using it in readings, I'll go into the meaning of the card, and then I also maybe will use a little bit of an explanation from that character. So like if it's, let's say I pull like Dean Winchester, right? I'm going to talk about whatever the card means, but I'm also probably going to mention maybe some daddy issues or like maybe a martyr syndrome or like an inability to put your needs first even a little bit, or feeling like you're stuck in a job you can't leave because of expectations and that it's always what you've done. I might start talking about that while also going into the meaning of the card. Just kind of like, don't ignore one or the other. Try to find a way to make a mesh. If it feels like they're really not meshing, maybe give the deck a break. Also, what we kind of see is there's an infinity symbol above his head, and there's a snake eating itself. Sometimes it's his belt, it kind of changes, but usually there's like a snake eating itself, that like Ouroboros kind of symbol going on. Both of those are symbols of unlimited potential, which is kind of like where he's coming from. The flowers show blossoming and fruition and abundance, and that like his ideas are definitely going to get where they're supposed to go, and that they're going to really pay off. Now, keywords, because some of us are flashcard people. Upright, you are going to see manifestation, resourcefulness, inspiration, power, and action. Those are all going to be big things with this card when it's upright. So the magician, above all things, is a master manifester. It brings you dreams. It helps you make those dreams come true. It kind of like helps you do a little bit of both. You have everything that you need at your fingertips. Spiritual, physically, mentally, and emotional resources are all available to you. And honestly, at this point, if it don't work, it's probably because you did not use them. So definitely consider what is available to you. Consider what you're not seeing. Consider what you're... They're really going to play Suavemente while I'm supposed to be teaching a class. How am I supposed to focus? I'm just... Okay, I don't want to dance. Just do the tarot class while dancing. So, like I said, all these things are available to you. You should probably consider, are you using them? Are you not using them? Like, what are you missing? What are you not seeing? That's usually a good question to ask yourself when you kind of get this card. Now is the time to move forward with your ideas. You are being called forward to take action. You are being called forward to get shit done. Establish a clear vision. Be motivated by more than just your ego. If you're motivated by, if it's all ego, you're in for an ego death, my friend. So definitely be motivated by more than just your own ego. You got to be doing this because you like doing it. Like I know, perfect example, me and a friend of mine both kind of blew up on TikTok like around the same time. And I really, really, really enjoyed making content, so I just kind of kept making it, whether my views were good or whether my views were shit. I really enjoyed making content. Now, that doesn't mean low views are not discouraging, especially if they were doing really well and now it's not. That's super discouraging. But I just liked doing what I was doing, so I just kind of like kept posting it. My friend was mostly doing it because of the views, and not in a bad way. They felt like obligated to keep going. They were like, I blew up, and now all these people are asking me questions, and I have to answer those questions because I feel bad if I don't. So she kept posting because she felt like she had to keep, posting and answering questions and like giving people what they were looking for. So when her views started going down, she was like, oh my God, good, I can get out of here. And like she dipped. Cause that was all she was waiting for. And like most of her motivation was not wanting to let people down and not wanting to feel bad. So like once she felt she couldn't do that, got the hell out of there. So it's the same thing. If she was chasing views, right? If it was an ego thing, and that ego doesn't inherently mean bad. If she was chasing views and it wasn't working, she probably would have stopped because she's not getting the thing that she's looking for, which is her ego being satiated. So like it makes sense that you lose fire, that you lose speed. So if you're undertaking anything because your ego tells you to and that's really it, you're not gonna get what you're actually looking for. Like, I think another example is, like, when I was working out to lose weight because I didn't like my body and I was trying to make myself smaller, I couldn't commit. And anyone who gets stuck on that diet culture, work out, not work out, feel bad about not working out, go back to working out cycle, probably understands what I'm talking about. And the problem is that I couldn't commit, not because I was lazy, not because of any other reason, but I was working out with one goal in mind, and it was to get smaller. And when that was happening, and I wasn't getting what I wanted, I wasn't getting what I was doing all this for, of course I lost motivation. Of course I stopped wanting to do it. Of course I kind of just gave up. When I started working out because I wanted to feel better, or I wanted to be stronger, or you see those results much more quickly. So like, when I'd go in and weightlift and could lift an extra 20 pounds than I could 3 weeks ago, that was like, oh, I gotta get back in the gym. Oh man, I'm improving. And now I'm going more frequently because I'm not just being motivated by like what my ego wanted, which was to be smaller. So it's really kind of hard to do things and to be consistent when it's ego motivated. And again, that was my thing. That was my ego talking. My ego was wounded that I was the size I was, and it felt bad about that, and it was trying to fix it by making myself smaller. And once I switched to like just doing it because I fucking liked it, and that only came about by healing that wounded my ego and learning how to love myself of any size, and no matter what I looked like. Giving myself that ability to do that allowed me to go back to working. I didn't start working out again until I was fully okay and comfortable with the fact that I was fat. And I was totally okay with that. And I thought I looked cute as hell. And I didn't mind. Once that happened, then I was like, man, I actually want to work out. I actually want to like strong and like do all these extra things. And then the gym became my happy place because it was a place where I could go, have some space, tune everyone out, focus on what I needed, and give myself a little bit of time. So again, if it's ego motivated, and don't beat yourself up if it is. I hate that ego has become a bad word. If it's ego motivated and not something you actually want to do, then you're not going to be able to commit to it. That's kind of why with the magician, don't even bother if it's ego motivated, because then it's not going to work out, and then you're going to feel bad for yourself, and you're going to feel shame, and then you're going to go into that whole shame cycle all over again, which doesn't really help anybody. So definitely try to do this with more than just your ego. Like I said, you know, have a spiritual connection to what and why you are doing this. That's really, really important. This is your sign to take inspired action. He is the second half of the balancing forces of the world, the other side being the high priestess. And, you know, the high priestess can help us connect and ask ourselves, why are we doing this? Why do we want these things? How are we kind of going about it? And then that can help us, and that can help us better motivate us through, you know, the magician and his workings and like all of that good stuff. Damn, that's good lighting. I should have done that.
Want to leave this light on?
Yeah, that's good lighting. I should have done that before. Damn.
Yeah. Now you have it.
The magician also tends to represent active masculine power and also creative impulse. That's kind of what we see with him. Now, when he's in reverse, again, for my flashcards people, your keywords are going to be manipulation, poor planning, and untapped talents. So you may be exploring what you want to manifest, but you're not taking any action yet. And there was a time and place to do that. This is now no longer the time and place. You should get the ball rolling. You should get moving. Usually what we tend to find, you might be uncertain if you have all the tools. That might be why it's taking you so long. Use your surrounding cards to kind of figure that out. They might tell you if it's insecurity, if you're overthinking. But if you're just looking at the magician completely in a vacuum on its own, if you just pull this in reverse, then it's probably telling you that like, you're probably wondering if you have everything you need. And again, surprise, the magician tells you that yes, you do have everything you need. You already got what it is that you're looking for. Now, a lot of the times you can be acting in a way that is not the most productive, because sometimes with a magician, you may be struggling to see progress or success. You might have lost touch with your why and not really knowing sure why you want to do this anymore, and that's why this goal isn't working out anymore, but you're probably telling yourself it's because you don't have certain things. And again, you do have everything you need, so if it's not happening, ask yourself why. Are you not taking advantage of one of those tools? Or again, do you not have that spiritual why all the way down there? Again, I'll go back to like the weight loss thing. You know, when I kept working out to try to be skinny, it wasn't working because that's not actually what spiritually I wanted. That's not what my ego wanted. My ego wanted me to love myself, and society got it in my head that the only way to do that was to be smaller. And that's why I couldn't commit to those things. Once I started working out because I loved my body and I thought it deserved to be healthy and strong and taken care of, then I was in there all day, every day. You couldn't get me out if I wanted to. So again, if you're out of touch with your why, it's not going to click because it's not the core of what's going on. So don't beat yourself up. But stop looking around for answers outside of yourself, because that's not where you're going to find them. And stop looking around for a finger to blame that's outside of yourself, because it's not. You got to point it here without beating yourself up, without being unkind to yourself. You are responsible for this lack of growth. And that lack of growth might be a good thing. If this is not in alignment with you, then it's a good thing that it didn't get off the ground. So like, don't beat yourself up. Just like, you know, level with yourself. Be for real with yourself. Because there's no outside forces that are like coming to get you or interfering or not making this work. There is no secret thing that you're missing to make this happen. You kind of just got to do it yourself, and you're either sleeping on something, or again, this isn't something that is actually in line with what you're looking for. At its absolute worst, at its most unhealthy, and again, use your surrounding cards to tell you if that's what this is. The magician is greed, manipulation, and trickery. You might not be fully aware that you're doing this. You might be so focused on your goal that you're kind of just like doing these things in order to get there. Cut that shit out. Like again, use your surrounding cards to tell you if that's what's going on. But a lot of times with the magician, the important questions to ask yourself are, you might not be realizing your potential, and what needs to change so that you can start actually doing that. Card number 2, the Emperor. The first one I've had beef with, which is funny because I had to get over it, because as many of you know, I work with King Hades. He's on my spirit team. This is one of his cards. So I had to get over my beef with this card very quickly, because it's how one of my spirit guides was coming to see me. So I had to get over that shit. So we're going to go into the Emperor, and I'm going to leave my beef at the door, and we're going to try to get through this without me talking too much shit. So again, card prompt for the Emperor. Do it if you want to. Do it if you're not. I'm not checking nobody's homework. How do you feel about authority? You can all see why I didn't like this card. Yeah, we're starting to pick it up now. How do you feel about authority? When in your life have you been in a position of authority? How did it affect you? Did you rise to meet it? Did you shrink away from it? Did you engorge yourself on it and become a little bit of a jerk? It happens. Again, this is not a place where we beat ourselves up. This is where we hold ourselves accountable and acknowledge how we can do better in the future. And that involves not beating yourself up. So for a yes or a no, it's a maybe, which is really annoying, but it's a maybe. And you should probably go ask someone older than you or someone with more experience than you how they feel about it, to try to see if, like, you know, is there something that you're missing? It's connected to Mars. That is a planet associated with this. This is one of my go-to Aries cards. If I pull this card and I'm looking for zodiac signs, there's a good chance I'm talking about an Aries. We see everything you get in Aries. You know, all the fire, all the passion, all the anger. It's all there. Also, other deities that we find associated with this are Horus, Mars, understandably, Jupiter, Minerva, Athena, Ares, Zeus, and Hades. Those are kind of who we start to see in this card. The angels that are associated with this is Archangel Uriel, who is the angel of epiphanies. Now for the symbolism for this card. So the Emperor is number 4 in the deck. So breaking down the numerology of 4, it's the number of stability and confidence. It is also the number of stubbornness. 4 is solid and stern. You want to think like, you know, your 4 walls, the stuff that like your house is made out of. That's what you want to think of when you get the number 4. So the Emperor is kind of breaking down his imagery. He is the father archetype in this whole thing. He is, you know, the dad of the zodiac sign. He sits on a large stone throne. That throne has ram heads all over it. This is kind of referencing Aries energy, right? It's starting to like depict that, give us a little bit of that ram vibes. In his right hand is an Ankh. That is the Egyptian symbol of life. So that's why he's got that one in his hand. Again, he's the father of the zodiac sign, so it makes sense that he's holding life, right? Another thing that we kind of see is that in his left hand, he's got an orb. And what we tend to find with this is, I mean, we just had a coronation not that long ago. Think about all the weird little doodads that he had to get covered in to get crowned. They're all like these symbolic representations of power, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we're going to see here. So you're going to get a lot of that. Like I said, he's got like the world in his hands. So this is kind of meant to show that like it's the world that he rules over and the world that he kind of oversees. So another thing that we kind of have is his red robes, right? That big red robe that he's wearing. This is all about power, passion, and life energy. It is, again, that fiery vitality that we kind of see on here. He's also wearing a suit of armor. So the weird thing about his whole suit of armor is that it shows he is protected against any threat. It shows that he is someone who's experienced with, you know, battle and fighting and like having to stand his ground, right? We kind of see that with all of that. But also, he's at home. And he's in a suit of armor. He's sitting down at home, presumably, in a suit of armor. That's a little weird, right? There's a definite distance of emotional vulnerability that's kind of going on. Like I said, that armor protects him from any threat. It also protects him from emotional vulnerability. I mean, think about like, you know, the traditional father archetype. They're not the most, oh, these feelings, like they should be. Men should be allowed to feel those feelings. They should be allowed to emotionally emote and express themselves. And I got stuck on my shirt. They should be allowed to like express themselves. They should absolutely, that's something they should be able to do. But again, think about the father archetype. It's usually very emotionally guarded. It's usually very emotionally closed off. My apologies for telling you this while you're doing your life. Telling me what? I don't think I saw what your comment was before. Yeah, I don't think I saw your comment, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't see whatever you put. I don't know if I got lost in the whole rigmarole. But like I said, suit of armor at home, kind of weird. Definitely a little emotionally closed off. Definitely kind of struggling with emotional vulnerability. His beard and that whole thing shows his old age, his wisdom, and his experience. His crown shows that he is an authority figure. He is commanding. He is someone who is supposed to be heard. That is kind of his whole thing. I mean, he is the king, right? Okay. Last part about the imagery. So the mountains behind him show that he is backed by a solid foundation and resistant to change unless it is necessary. Also, there is a little river usually on the card. This kind of shows that he is an emotional being and there are feelings and emotions kind of going on under the surface with all that. You just got to do some digging. So like, you know, the emperor here, you can kind of see him up here. Like I said, suit of armor on while he's at home. These big mountains behind him. The river is right there. It's this tiny little blue line that goes this way and this way. And that's it. So it's there. Kinda. It's there. But like, you know, you just gotta go digging for it. So yeah. But like, it's there. Good. A little bit. So that's kind of his whole thing and what he stands for in that. Now upright, again, for our flashcard people, we're going to see keywords like authority, establishment, structure, and father figures. Now, with this card, if you pull it for yourself, secret tunnel. literally. So if you pull this card for yourself, like I said, there's a good chance you might be the breadwinner of your situation. You might be the rock. You might be the person that is very often relied on for emotional stability. This tends to show powerful leaders who demand respect and authority. They're firm but fair. They have a very clear vision. They listen to others, but they prefer to have the final say. That's usually kind of like the personality type that we see in this card. Protective, unafraid of conflict, but they're usually not quick to jump it. It's like, look, if we're gonna throw down, we're gonna throw down, and I'm not even the least bit worried about it. But I'd rather we don't. That's so inefficient and unproductive. Can we just talk? Like, that's kind of how the Emperor is. But again, we'll throw down if need be. He's still got armor, don't forget. Another thing that we kind of see with him, he can represent a system of rules and regulations. He's very like law and order in that kind of way. Like we said, it represents the father archetype. He represents order, law, expertise, knowledge, understanding. He teaches pattern and structure and authority and its importance. And he introduces order and he rules with the Empress, who teaches us patience and helps us learn our purpose. So they kind of work as a team. You know, just like what parents are supposed to do, all that stuff. Now, when it comes to reverse, keywords for this are going to be domination, excessive constraint, toxic father figures, toxic masculinity, just in general, a lack of discipline, and inflexibility. So the Emperor, when he's in reverse, I don't know if any of y'all are Game of Thrones fans. I very much am a very big Game of Thrones fan, and I don't know if y'all remember this scene because it was from like earlier, but Joffrey, for my non-Game of Thrones fans, he's a king. He's like 14. He's a vile little shit, and he's king, and he's an asshole, and nobody's happy about it. And at one point, him and his Hand of the King, who are basically like the guy who oversees what the king does, are disagreeing about like how to best approach this and what's supposed to happen and da-da-da. And at one point, he goes like, I am the king, and he like smashes his hands on the table because he's a child having a temper tantrum, and the hand of the king shuts him down immediately and basically says anyone who needs to shout that they are the king is for certain not the damn king. And it's such a good point. You do not command power and respect by going, fear me, I'm so big and strong, like that's not gonna do shit. You look dumb as hell. And if anyone is showing you respect, it's not respect, it's either fear because they're afraid of that response, or they're placating because they don't want to deal with that response. So like actual proper authority and being that person in power is being a protector, being a provider, not being an aggressor. So like definitely kind of if you get this card in reverse a lot, if someone you love gets this card in reverse a lot, pick up some books on toxic masculinity and how to unpack that. And don't think that just because you're born with a uterus or because you identify as a woman means you are free from this. Do not think that shit. Internalized misogyny is real. It is a thing. We see it in every pick-me girl on the internet who thinks that she needs to put other women down to build themselves up. So just because you are a lady does not mean you are free from toxic masculinity. If you were raised with toxic masculine fathers or family members, check yourself. Check how you speak. Check how you act. Check the men in your life. You are not immune from toxic masculinity just because you got different bits. Or you identified it. You're not immune to it. I just said we all got masculine and feminine inside us. All the good, also all the bad, bestie. Men are not immune to toxic femininity. They can absolutely have those traits. So check yourself. Don't think you're immune just because you're not a part of that original demographic. It will bleed down and hit you. So check that shit. So make sure that you're kind of checking it. Exactly. Y'all got my point, Chris. So basically, ask yourself, if you get this card in reverse, what is your relationship with power and authority? What does that look like? Because when the Emperor's in reverse, he is rigid and overbearing. It always makes me think of narcissistic, toxic men. A lot of the times they can also affect our relationship with leadership. Because a lot of the times, if you're not the one acting this way, you're probably being exposed to somebody like this. You're probably dealing with someone who has this energy or who's bringing this energy. And it's really important to kind of ask, how are you avoiding maybe needing to stand up to that person, and why are you avoiding it? Are you cringing, or are you pulling away, or is there an actual reason why you can't open your mouth and why you can't say something? Because look, shit happens, right? We all have a boss that's awful. It's what am I supposed to do aside from go to HR? Well, you should probably go to HR, but it's normal if you can't walk up to your boss who's being a raging emperor in reverse and be whoa, bro, it makes sense that you can't do that. So that's what HR is for. That's what using something else is for. So check that in with yourself. If there is this figure in your life, how can you stand up to them? How can you put some space between you and them? How can you protect yourself from that energy? Those are all important to ask. If this card is about you and you're not falling into toxic masculinity, you're not being inflexible, you're not dominating people or exerting excessive control, if none of that tracks with you, if none of that lines up with what's kind of going on with you, then it's important to suggest, is there a leadership role that you are not taking on, right? Is there something you're denying or you shying away from? Discipline yourself and do the damn thing, step up to this. Like I said, do you need to pull back on your authority? Are you doing too much? Or do you need to step up to somebody? Which one is it? Is it too much, too little, not enough? What are we kind of looking at? This can also suggest unequal partnerships, overbearing, possessive, domineering partnerships, whether it's family, whether it's love or friends. If you ask me to do a love reading and I pulled this card in reverse, you are not leaving my appointment thinking that person is okay for you. You might be able to work on it. You might not have to go and break up. You might be able to fix it. Therapy is a thing. Work is a thing. Growth is a thing. But you are not going to leave my office without me really drilling it into your head that this is not a good situation for you to be in, and that this person's energy either needs to be changed or needs to be removed. Hard stop. If you pull this card for your friend's boyfriend, raise an eyebrow. Sorry, raise an eyebrow. Keep an extra eye on him. Don't, no. It's the same thing with the Empress in reverse. If I pull this for like, if you ask me to check out your girlfriend and I pull the Empress in reverse, immediate red flag, instant red flag. People can grow, people can change, people can work on it. But I got my eye on you. I'm going to watch your tone around my friend. I'm going to watch the way you act around my friend. I'm going to watch if you boss them around. I'm going to watch if you let them have their freedom. I'm going to watch real closely how you are with my friend. So, like, keep an eye on this. Exactly. Ask yourself, what's your suit of armor? Exactly. You got time for this? Yeah, we got time for it. We'll do one more. We'll do the Hierophant. We're going to kind of wrap him up real quick. Because, honestly, the Hierophant goes by pretty fast. There's really not a whole lot to talk about with him, which is weird. But he's pretty, like, to the point, which is nice and very fair because he's connected to Taurus energy. So the card prompt for the Hierophant is, what time-honored tradition do you keep that has been passed down by family, blood or otherwise? What meaning do you find in keeping it? Like I said, this is Taurus energy. The Hierophant is social, cooperative, it's stable, he's stubborn, a little bit of a taste for the extravagant. So for a yes or no, it's a maybe. Same thing, seek counsel. It's a maybe because you probably need guidance or counsel from somebody who knows more than you. It's connected to the planet Venus, very Taurus energy, like I said. The deities you're going to find, Osiris and Dionysus, funnily enough. And the angels, you're going to find Archangel Asmodel, who is the angel of Taurus. So on the symbolism of this card, we see like a pope or a teacher. It's usually, it looks like a pope or like a bishop. Either way, that person is definitely a religious figure. They're definitely someone of authority in their community. And they're usually sitting between two pillars of a very sacred temple. Now, the Hierophant is the number 5 in the Major Arcana. 5 is the number of change, of impulse, of being temperamental. It's also the number of recovery and hope. It is zealous and cheerful. It's probably the best way to describe the 5 when it's, not kicking our butt. When it's kicking our butt, it's a little hard. So many, also in this card, we have so many 3s. There's so many things come in 3s in this card. We have 3 people. They're all in 3 robes. There's a 3-tiered crown. There's 3 figures. It's all 3s, 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 3s. And this is all meant to show the 3 worlds that the Hierophant rules over, which are the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. That is kind of what we're going to see here. So basically, on the background, there's a big papal cross. This flaunts his religious status. This shows that, again, this person's important in the church probably. And we see his hand is raised in blessing. 2 fingers. 2 fingers are pointed up to heaven. And 2 are pointed towards the earth. Oh my god, wow, another as above, so below symbol. So weird. It's almost like I said we're going to see this all the time. Oh, all the time. I'm going to get so tired of talking about it. But we see the as above, so below symbol. I just talked all about that in The Magician. So if you forgot already, watch it back. I don't know what I'm going to tell you. Watch it back. So we have all of this 3 things. So the 3 roles are the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious, the id, the ego, and the superego. It's basically what we're seeing here. Now also he has 2 acolytes that are usually like in front of him. And you can see he's leaning towards them with his hands out, or he's leaning in some way. His head's bent. There is like a connection between the 2 of them happening. This is meant to show that he's passing his knowledge down to symbolize community and group identity, and that he's not gatekeeping his information. He is in this position to teach and to pass down. That's kind of why he's here. Now, upright, keywords for the Hierophant are going to be spiritual wisdom, religious beliefs, conformity, traditions, and institutions. The Hierophant shows a set of established spiritual values and formal doctrines. Before you form your values in your own belief system, you should learn the fundamental principles from trusted sources, right? Like, and this is like the early stage in the Fool's journey. Like, this is going to school and like learning how the world works and then forming your own opinions later about how the world works. But this is like the foundations of it all, right? It's like when you go to like an art class, they're going to teach you all the basics, and then your art style is going to go from there and become its own thing. That's probably going to ignore a lot of the rules you were first taught, but it's important that you learn them in the first place. That kind of is what help you get your structure to like get started. This is a time when we're really pulling in teachers, guides, people who can like mentor us, you know, again, trusted sources. So they basically will sometimes do this with gentleness or with authority. It really could be either or with the Hierophant. Use your surrounding cards to help you figure that one out and what it's going to be. They are here to teach you how to access the divine and how to connect deeper with yourself. Stay within this tried and true model that works. Again, you are probably not in a position to go trying with your own stuff. When people first start in witchcraft, they hate the answer that I always give them because they're like, how do I do this? Research it. How do I do this? Research it. I put a spell and I don't know what to do. Research reversals. That's all I'm giving you guys, because you have to go out there and learn, and look, I know how I do it. 16 years later, that's like half of it's my own fucking rules that I learned, but I'm only confident in those rules even as I make them on my own, because they're all based in that traditional root that taught me everything I know. So start with that, go from there. That's usually going to be your best friend in that. Like I said, honestly, stay within a tried and true model, stick to what works. This is a time to honor your traditions, especially familial ones. Commit to a practice in its whole form. Don't bend the rules. Don't try to go around shit. Don't try to take the short way. Commit to following the whole path. I promise the next time you do it, you can start looking for shortcuts and you can start looking for easier ways to do it. But the first time is not the time to be doing that. That's how you get in trouble. That's how you bite off more than you can chew. That's how you make stupid mistakes. So definitely check in with that. In the Fool's journey, he is, like I said, he's a formal education given to you outside of the home, and he passes on organized belief systems to inform the Fool, so that, like I said, when he goes out and starts making his own decisions, he has a good foundation. He has a good base, which, like 4, like we talked about, is that very foundational number. Now, when it's in reverse, we see personal beliefs, freedom, and challenging the status quo. Those are the big ones. In its most positive form, exactly, you can only break the rules once you've mastered them. In its most positive form, he is a reminder to be your own teacher sometimes. Sometimes that's really important. Wisdom comes from within. He encourages us to follow our own path and not to just blindly follow others. You no longer need external approval in this card when it's in reverse anymore. This is something you can get from inside. You are ready to go it alone. Trust your inner guidance. It is so important. And examine how things align with your values. The reversed Hierophant is a rebellious teenager. That's probably really the best way to put it. So sometimes we gotta lean into that. It can also suggest conflict with authority or with paternal figures. We sometimes see that. So like, you might be clashing with your parents a little bit if like this card is happening. No matter what age you are, you might be... The walls are like banging. Or you might be clashing with your paternal figures. You can kind of see that. Exactly. You can make your own rules once you've mastered all the formal ones. So that's going to be it for today. We're going to finish... get over here. We're going to finish the Men of the Major Arcana next week. So I will see y'all next Saturday, where I will officially be 27 because my birthday will have passed. So my Saturn return is officially here. Yay. But I will see y'all next week, where next week we're going to end up talking about the Chariot, the Hermit, and the Hanged Man. So we're going to finish the last of the Men of the Major Arcana, and then we're going to do the rest of the Major Arcana, and then we're going to get into the suits, and then we're just going to go from there, see what happens. So I will see y'all next week. Like I said, take care of yourselves. Have a great weekend. Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.